Successful game development is a lot about managing the scope of your game. Especially as a solo developer, there is only so much you can do, and it is quite the big risk to tackle a multi-year project, both in terms of mental and physical well-being, as well as financially. So it's very important to watch closely how big you plan your game. I, for one, failed horribly at this. Hi there, and welcome to the third devlog for my game Recollection. I'm Eric, aka Erkberg, and today I want to tell you about the journey from dreaming too big, over doomed but ultimately necessary prototyping attempts, all the way to scaling down my game tremendously to something I'm confident with. The last devlog was quite a long time ago, and in it I told you about my plans to prototype a whole action roguelite game containing multiple other smaller games. I might have already guessed that this was maybe a bit too much for a solo dev to achieve in a reasonable amount of time, but my spirits were high and I plunged headfirst into prototyping to find out if, against all odds, I might be able to do it. Spoiler alert, nope, it was too much. I spent almost 2 entire months before I came to that conclusion though. I built an atmospheric spaceship interior which was planned to be the hub for the game. Here you could start the smaller games in a creepy monitor room, as well as upgrade your little robot companion's stats and send them down to the planet. Down there, the action roguelite gameplay would take place. I built quite a few mechanics for this, like basic platforming, dashing, ducking, double jumping, attacking, random level generation, some different types of enemies, and a boss. It was then that I really saw how big this would become. For my concept to work, I just needed so much stuff. I needed one boss for every minigame, plus the games themselves. I needed super polished action gameplay. I needed lots of different enemy types and biomes and visuals for variety. I needed some decent progression system that is well balanced, and I needed a great working level generator, which is not super easy to do for platforming games, I believe. This last point led to a rather questionable decision on my part. I was hoping that a top-down perspective instead of a side-view one would lead to a simpler level generation and lower efforts for the visuals, as I didn't have to create that much background art. So I started prototyping the action gameplay in a top-down perspective, but didn't get very far. It quickly became apparent that this was not much less work than the platforming side-view perspective. And just like that, another week had gone down the drain. I was in a situation again that was similar to the one I described in my last devlog, where there were multiple possible paths lying ahead of me, and decision paralysis being on the rise. I was also slowly but surely running out of time concerning my funds. That pressure led to me taking a step back again. If I continued down that road, I estimated that it would take me at least 2, more likely 3 years for the game to be finished. I had planned to go early access with it, but that was also at least 1 year away. And knowing game development, in reality, these numbers are probably almost twice as high. And it just felt so wrong to me to commit such a long period of time to my very first commercial game. And it's also quite risky financially. What if I run out before the game makes any money? Then I'd have to hope for more funding, which is not too likely to succeed and also takes a lot of time to apply for. Or I could take on contract work, which in turn would delay the game even further And I'm not very keen on doing that since I had some bad experiences with it in the past. It was about time for one of those super tough, project determining decisions again. I had to make the game smaller somehow. But the concept, small games within a bigger game, didn't really lend itself too well to being scoped down to something reasonable at all. I was looking for a concept that was much smaller in scope. Half a year max until finished. That was the plan. And thanks to my big catalog of Game Jam games, I quickly found something that was very promising and also came quite naturally to me. I thought this option through all the way to the end and also did a full project plan until release and came out happy with it. So once again, my game should change completely. This time though, for the last time, promised. If you followed my channel, you might have seen some short videos of the new concept already, but let me present it to you here in a bit more detail. I participated in the Ludum Dare Game Jam more times than I can count, but only once I made an entry that secured the #1 spot in a category. That game is called All the Same, and it won the mood category in the Ludum Dare competition number 47 back in October 2020. It's a calm walking and watching simulator where you go through a barren world, looking at things to make them appear fully, filling that empty world again. It has a lovely message of paying attention to the natural beauty all around us and is a pretty magical experience, if I dare say so myself. But you can judge for yourself. It's playable on my itch.io page and I linked it in the description. I was always quite fond of it. To be honest, it's actually my favorite jam game I ever created. Also, it is the game from which I used the art for everything already, be it in my video end cards, social media banners, or on the Recollection Steam page. Coincidence? If that's not enough yet, here comes the best part. I can even keep the name Recollection. It fits perfectly. Because the game is all about remembering and collecting things again. So, how do I extend this? In its Game Jam form, you just look at things and they magically appear, and after 5 minutes you're all done. I thought about adding some platforming levels for each object, but that seemed a bit too standard and thus a bit too boring to me, so I went another route. Every object now has its own special interaction to unlock it. And these interactions are all based on watching, aka moving a cursor in gameplay. So for example, to unlock the moon, you draw on it. For the stars, you connect them to form constellations. And for the mountains, you follow their silhouette lines. These are all very casual, easy interactions, and that's exactly what I'm aiming for. I want to create a wholesome, accessible game that everyone can enjoy. But I also had an idea that goes into different territory. A second game mode that is more concerning and challenging. And suddenly, the scope grows again. This is what's called scope creep, when during production something new or bigger pops up and you just have to make it. It is quite the common and exciting but also dangerous thing in game development. I still really want to make that second game mode, even though the main mode is already crazy inefficient to produce with its different interactions for each object. But I have to watch the scope very closely and make cuts if necessary, which is just so hard to do. Overall though, I'm progressing really nicely with this game, much better than before. So good even that there will be a demo for you all to try out during Steam Next Fest. Next week already, how's that? It's only 5 minutes long, but that's probably appropriate for a game that is planned to be no longer than 1 hour in playtime. I certainly hope you'll give it a try and let me know what you think of it. I'll post a new trailer here on Monday as a little reminder and teaser. So let's just sum this all up a bit, shall we? Scope is just such an important factor in game development. A AAA studio can do way more than a small indie team consisting of half a dozen people, which in turn can do so much more than just a single developer. I wasted quite a bit of time because I scoped my game too high. The prototyping itself was maybe not even the problem, just that I spent too long on it. There is a mantra in game development, and that is to fail faster. Try things out to see what works and what doesn't. Start small. And try to estimate how long things will take for you to finish, and then probably double that estimate. Your dream project might just not be within your current possibilities, but these can be extended in the future, be it through growing your skills, your team size, or your funds and therefore time available. I certainly hope to do so myself someday, maybe even with the previous concept of games within a game, who knows? For now though, I am more than happy to create a magical, atmospheric, awesome and small game as my first commercial attempt. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know how you liked the new concept and the demo. Have an awesome rest of the day and see you in the next one. Bye!